When I first met Pete, his politics were not at all evident. Pete changed. He could no longer be this fly on the wall.
Pete Souza is getting attention online with replies to President Trump's tweets.
I had to speak out. I knew how the job should be done.
Pete felt the urgency to show what the office can be. This was a 911.
Reagan and Obama respected the dignity of the office. The presidency is a serious job, and I was going to do everything I could to make sure people didn't forget that.
Do you have a picture for every single thing that Donald Trump has lied about with Barack Obama?
Pretty much.
First, an amazing and emotional project. I mean, like I sat there and watched it with my friend, and we was like kind of tearing up, just going back through those moments. Not kinda. I was trying to be tough and hold back some of the tears. You know? but it's such a stark, contrast to where we're at today. I'm wondering, just as a director and editor and on all these things, like how many photos did you have to, go through to compile the content that you put on the screen in the documentary?
Yeah, well, first, I'm very happy that you teared up. So Pete took 2 million photographs during just his time in the Obama White House. And so we obviously couldn't do, 2 million photographs, but we went through thousands of photographs before settling on some themes that I really wanted to, highlight in the Obama presidency in particular. Empathy, compassion, but also what a loving father and husband he is. I don't think Black men get enough credit for what they do in that. And so that was extremely important to me. So we went through thousands of photos before. I think we have about 450 in. And so we made a pass where we selected like 400 to 600, something like that. And then Pete told us, he said, oh, if you like this, go look at XYZ photo. He gave us some other suggestions. But it was the first thing we did, was to really go through all those photos. Because I think, and then we matched up the photos with the events that were happening at the time. So it was really interesting to go back and say like, oh, okay, this meeting's happening and here's how the New York Times covered it. And now we could see the photos from the room where it happened. So it was emotional too, going through. I mean, the first time I saw Pete's photos, he does this one-man show, I cried. And I realized, I was like, I've been holding my breath for 3 years, like just waiting for this current occupant of the White House to leave. And you start to think like, was it a dream? Am I overstating it? And then you see these photos and you see, no, there was somebody working hard, doing his best, respecting people. You see what we've lost.
This is Jacob, Philadelphia. At one point, Jacob's mom said, Mr. President, Jacob has a question for you. So Jacob's kind of like, Mr. President, my friends tell me that my haircut is just like yours. And with that, President Obama bent over, Jacob touched his head, click, I got one photo and it was gone.
That image was what Barack Obama had said to us 2 years ago in an office in Chicago. That kid literally can't even believe, even though he's seeing the President of the United States in the Oval Office, until he can feel his hair, he doesn't truly believe that he's just like me. That single image stands for so much more. It stands for how kids will see themselves differently forever.
But two, I think it tells you something about Barack Obama, that at the behest of a 5-year-old kid, you would go ahead, bend over, and let that kid touch your head like that.
So I know you went through, there must have been millions of pictures to go through, and I think you said you settled on like 400 or 500 photos to use in there?
Yeah.
Were many of these photos that you never seen? Like I remember seeing the photo of the kid, you know, brushing his waves or whatever. But were many of these photos that you never saw before you got involved with the project?
I really hadn't seen most of them. I mean, like a lot of people, you know, I bought Pete's first book for my parents for Christmas. So I had seen, you know, a bunch of the photos. So I wanted to go beyond those because there are so many more. But there are some that just like the little boy, you know, that just like stop you. And, you know, and thinking of what that moment was like. So, but I hadn't seen most of them. And then the opportunity to go through thousands of them was, you know, it was great. It was really great.
I mean, I know like the nature of the audience these days, especially involved in politics, is so polarizing. Was it? I know Pete. He just legitimately worked for Reagan and Obama, but was it like also strategic to put up this symbol for conservatism or whatever as Reagan, and to juxtapose it with Obama?
You know, it was. I mean, we are lucky. Sometimes your subjects, it works out, you know, you just are able to do that without too much thought. So I definitely wanted to tell the whole story of Pete's career, but I wanted to make the point that this is not about President Obama is great, although I do think he was a really great president. This is about the importance of the presidency as an office. And, you know, I was not a Ronald Reagan fan. I used to protest, ketchup is not a vegetable, you know, AIDS is real, you know, go on and on and on. But when you look at Pete's photos, and particularly when we found the video, so that video is from the Reagan Library. So we got it for free and we could just go through hours and hours of the video. And what you see is a person, I might disagree with his outcome, but he also was doing his best, you know, and also had a lot of empathy for people and did what he thought was right, really for the country, which is not what we're seeing today. We do not see somebody put the country first. We see somebody putting himself first. So I think there aren't that many times when you would put Reagan and Obama in the same column, but for that purpose, you know, that's really true. And I also think it was a good lesson for me, you know, to not, I think this president in particular has shown how bad it is to demonize people. That's where you get death threats and you get this like ridiculous, you know, situation that many people are experiencing. So reminding people that these are people, even our presidents are people.
Well, maybe not this one. But,
Not yet.
I wonder, like today seems, I mean, this whole pandemic season has been kind of a new revelation of civil justice protests and everything else. But today we're at the point where sports leagues are talking about canceling seasons. We went from kneeling during the flag, which nobody wanted to see. Well, not nobody, but, you know, people were mad about that, to now like the players are like, we're just not going to play. I mean, do you feel, just as an artist and a filmmaker, just looking at this particular time, that we are in, I mean, everybody thinks like every year it's like some type of unique space and we're here and but does this space seem like I remember in the film when Pete said the parent asked, the Sandy Hook parent asked Obama, is this different? Are we in a different space today, do you think?
You know, I really do think we are. when you think the Milwaukee Bucks leadership, following, of course, Colin Kaepernick and his leadership, Naomi Osaka in tennis refused to play today. What is she, 17? So these are people with influence, and the thing I love the most is not only are they speaking up about what they care about, but they are stepping in their power, because a lot of this is about power. People who are Black and brown don't often have that much power, but those players do. There's a lot of people who want them to get back to work. So I love seeing them in their power, but I also love seeing, the film I made right before this was about John Lewis, and he, had been battling cancer. He was so thrilled to see people walking in the streets, of all races, all genders, saying, no, enough. So I think what Mr. Lewis teaches us, though, is we have to move from outrage and protest to action. And so, that is the next step. So what the players are doing, that's action. Now the politicians need to take it up. The lane is cleared. Let's all chip in with what our piece of it is.
I wonder how you absorb doing having these subjects like John Lewis and Peter Souza's photography, like how, because I know as attempting to do documentaries on Katrina and Haiti, like some of these things gets real heavy and emotional. Like when you worked on Good Trouble for John Lewis, like how do you balance your artistry with the emotion that just somebody that looks like me, that you feel looking at the Obama years the same way I did as an audience member? How do you balance that emotion and still deliver on your art?
Sometimes it's really hard. The first film I made was about 3 young African-American public defenders. And we shot this scene where we had just gone to visit this little boy, 16, little boy in jail. And he'd been arrested with no evidence, nothing against him. He had missed his whole junior year of high school. He was an engineering student. He was just locked up, and his mother couldn't make bail. And I'm like, that could be my kid, And then we get back, and long story, but he couldn't make bail. And I just couldn't, like, something in me broke. I just couldn't handle it. And I said, I'm gonna bail him out. And the lawyer I was working with, and she was in her 20s, and she said, you cannot bail him out. If you're gonna make these movies, you have to be able to take this pain. You can't bail him out. You would be responsible for him. You'd have to come down here all the time. It wasn't practical. And I have to tell you, like, I felt so powerless. I felt like for a couple of $1,000, maybe someone could save this kid's life. And I just kind of vowed not to feel that powerless again. But I will tell you, I took my anger home, and my own kids were like 5 and 7 at the time. And my little one was like, can I have PlayStation 99? And I'm like, no, are you in jail? He was like, start crying. But it's hard. You see, when you want to show things that are real, you see things that are real, and they are hard. So for me, like, I need to go outside. I need to literally walk in the woods. Me and Hillary Clinton are out there. I try and do things that take up my whole mind, or else my mind goes racing. And I definitely learned from Mr. Lewis that, anger is can be such a wasted emotion, and it can take up too much energy and space. So I try and channel it to more productive things, but it's hard. It is sometimes physically hard,
you've been a successful filmmaker for a number of years now, and I'm starting to see a lot more women and women that look like you do wonderful projects. Is this more a sign of these changing platforms and having all this space and streaming, or is there really, or is it both, or is there awakening within the studio system to say like we're gonna award talent and give opportunity, or like where do you feel as someone in that space that you're living in it right now? Like what's leading to this? Is it just the voices that's speaking up, or what?
I think there are a few things. In documentary, there's a lot less barriers to entry. And in documentary, the precious commodity is access and a way to tell a story. And if you have that, you can convince people to come on with you, which is much harder in a studio fiction world where you need millions of dollars and a lot of champions to get behind you. You know, a lot of documentary people, we greenlight ourselves. We just start. And then we have something that's compelling, and then people kind of follow up. So in documentary, you're seeing, you know, a lot of advancement. What you're not seeing so much are, you know, how many Avas are there, right? So there's Dee Rees, there's Ava, but then it falls off a cliff. Even for successful filmmakers, no one's that prolific. So there's a lot of work to be done. First, they tried to tell us Black people don't sell. Well, now we know that's not true. Then it's like you can't handle big budgets. Well, we know that's not true. So, you know, if you just listen to the chatter, you would just pull the covers over your head and not try. So I just more really try and focus on what's right in front of me and telling good stories, and then trying to access power when I get it, to hire other people so that they have a strong reel and they have good credits, you know, because those things you can't argue with those things. We just have to keep chipping away at all the excuses. And is that fair? No. But is it the truth? Yes. So.
Pete says that he feels that he's a historian. I mean, as you're doing, I know he's doing still photography, but as you're doing these documentaries using moving pictures, do you feel the same way, like that as you're telling these stories, you're also being a historian?
I don't think historian's right, because I think it's more of a snapshot through my particular lens. I just like to be obvious about what my lens is. I am Black in America. I'm a female in America. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. You know, so I don't know that my history is the right way to see things. I view myself as more of a means for other people to see some things that maybe they hadn't thought about before. You know, and I really, the reason I wanted to make documentary films is I didn't see a lot of people who look like me. I didn't see stories about people that I knew and that I knew were out there. And so from that perspective, I feel like I've been really successful, because, you know, but really the secret that you and I will know is we are everywhere. If you're just looking, you just gotta look. You know, so so I'm just really very settled and pleased with, you know, what I'm able to do, and you know, looking for what's next.
My last question is, there's not a lot, to me, it feels like it's not a lot of open-minded people in a lot of spaces anymore, especially you get online and everything else. But I'm wondering, like, if and I know it was important to release this film before the election, for you and other producers. But if an open-minded person was to watch this film, do you think that they could do anything else but demand something different the next, for, you know, going into the next election than what we have right now? Because I mean, without you got in the film, y'all don't even mention the resident of the White House right now too many times, but you know, you just show contrast. You think if they see that, they would be compelled to make that decision?
That's the hope, you know, is that people will listen and see and feel and ask themselves, if after seeing this and knowing what I know, I'm still going to pull the lever the other way, what's really behind my decision? We are not better off economically. We are not better off in the world. Our country is torn apart and fractious. Our economy is in the crapper. Wealth gap, the racial diversions, like just, you cannot objectively, factually say things are better. So I just would love people to ask themselves, be honest about why you're really pulling that lever that way. And I hope you can live with what you see in the mirror.
All right. Can you tell all your fans or whatever, I don't know if you interact on social media or wherever, but I mean, if there's somebody's trying to reach out and see what you're working on now, or just communicate with you on social media, is there
I appreciate that. So I have a website, trilogyfilms.com. That's my company. I am on Twitter and Instagram. I'd love to hear what you think about the movie, as long as you like it.
I think everybody's gonna cry that watches it. I mean, especially anybody I mean, I went to inauguration, so I think it's easy to forget.
I think it's easy.
I mean, when so much stuff happens in between that time, when you get to stop and look at it again, it reminds you of what that office is supposed to represent, even when it wasn't perfect at times throughout history. That office is supposed to represent something, and I think y'all show
we're supposed to try, and I think what you see from President Obama is, I have more respect for him now, knowing how hard that job is and how he and his family represented us so beautifully. I mean, I just have so much more pride than I thought possible. I love your screenshots there.
Oh, thank you. I try to just take some photos from your presser. I mean, I had so many great photos. I wanted to get on Flickr and pull some rest of those Obama ones and blow them up. But keep on making great stories, and we'll keep on watching them. And I'll definitely be rooting for you, just like you have, more respect for Obama after going through and seeing how hard it is. I mean, as a filmmaker, I love the film without knowing the color of the woman that was behind it at the beginning of it. So it's just like, it's just more respect that you were behind this as a producer and video. And I've looked at the other stuff that you've done as an editor and filmmaker. So keep doing your stuff. I'm definitely on your new fan list, and we'll be watching everything you got coming out from here on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.